If you're just joining us, we have been looking at the EndBadGovernance protest, which began in Nigeria yesterday. Well, to discuss this extensively, I have with me another set of guests. Fetus Ogun is a legal practitioner and joins me live in the studio. I also have Bestman Jumbo-Eze, is the President of TeamNigeria4Change. He also joins live in the studio. Francis Nwapa is the National Secretary, Youth Rights Campaign. He joins virtually from Lagos. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Let me start with, an open question. I mean, it's day 2 of the protest, EndBadGovernance. Let me start with you, Bestman. In terms of coordination, what we've seen so far, your take?
Well, kudos to some states. They took the warnings to heart and they acted proactively. Unfortunately, in some states, we can't say the same thing. I mean, if you look at a state like Lagos, you give kudos to Lagos for how they handled it. You give kudos to a state like on those states, and a couple of, thank God for the southeastern states too. Everything is cool, but we can't say the same of the north and one or two other places.
Let me go to Festus. I mean, you are a lawyer, right? There's been a lot of legal back and forth, particularly in some states as regards location of the protest. One of those states is Abuja, and even in Lagos, where protesters are saying, look, by law, we have a right to assembly, almost anyway, peaceful assembly. But then there's a court injunction saying you are only restricted to certain areas. For that of Abuja is the MKO, a stadium. For Lagos is Ojota, and some parts of K2. I mean, we have a situation here where there's what the law or the court says, and then fundamental human rights to association. Your take?
Well, let me start by saying that the protest is largely successful. I say this because there was, a day before the protest, circulation of court news relating to court orders.
In some states.
In some states, restraining protesters to a particular location. I've always made the point clear that these very court orders are unconstitutional.
And why is that?
The reason is simply because they are unenforceable and they violate human rights. The right to protest is clearly guaranteed under Section 39, 40, and 41 of the Constitution. These rights can only be taken away by the enactment of a law under Section 45 of the Constitution. And that law that is enacted by either the National Assembly or the State Assembly has to be reasonably justifiable in any democratic society. That particular Section 45 that gives an exception to the enjoyment of this right did not say that, look, the right can be restricted by a court order. Now, as if that is not enough, you must also not forget that in the court orders, the name of the protesters were not stated. If you are not a party to a suit, the law is very clear. You cannot be compelled to abide by any consequential orders that arises from that suit. I, for example, was not a party to the suit that was filed either in Ogun State or in Lagos State. So if I was not a party to the suit, if there is an injunction coming therefrom, it is not binding on me. They said, look, one of the parties listed in the suit filed in Lagos, Ogun State, and even in the FCT says, look, this court order is binding on unknown persons. I am not an unknown person. Festus Ogun is my name. We also have protesters scattered all over the country. They are not unknown. I'm a citizen of Nigeria. I have my national ID card. I have my voter's card. I'm not an unknown person. So the order is not binding on me. As if that is not enough. You do not expect compliance of a court order when clearly the court order has not been served on you. So if the court order has not been served on the protesters, and particularly the protesters are not a party to the suit, you do not expect compliance. I mean, you do not expect compliance. So the point I'm making is that, one, that very court order is unconstitutional because in the spirit and letters of our law, protest is a fundamental right. And the court order is a violation of human rights.
All right, let me go to Mr. Nwapa on this one. I mean, you've seen the turnout of the protest. I mean, just day 2, unfortunately, cases of violence, in some states. And largely, would you say that the protest has been able to drive its original intention so far?
Well, thank you. I must firstly appreciate you, the media, for the role you have played so far, in covering this event. Because if the media had not been around, perhaps the peace that the Lagos protest has enjoyed wouldn't have been. You saw what happened for some of your colleagues who were there today. You saw what happened today, where thugs were mobilized to the center where we were carrying out the protest. And these thugs walked past the presence of the police, the DSS, the civil defense, and they advanced towards us. I mean, you wonder if we had reacted. In fact, one of them threatened one of the protesters that he was going to behead her, and threatened the journalist also that he was going to behead her. And all of these things happened in the glaring eye of the police and the security operatives. And so when we say the protests in Lagos have been peaceful, it's not that there have not been attempts to cause violence by the thugs mobilized by the ruling elites. It is because we have organized ourselves. And going to the question whether it has driven, down the purpose, yes, it has. This has shown, number one, this has shown that the Nigerian people cannot defeat a military dictatorship and move into a civilian dictatorship. That the right to protest cannot be taken away from the Nigerian people. And that right was established yesterday and today. So the fact that we have been able to achieve that, we have done something. And the government is jittery. If they are not jittery, why would they be sending talks? So we have achieved something. Okay.
Before, of course, I proceed, we also understand that there are developing stories right here, breaking news, where one of the groups, that's the Take It Back movement, it's a civil rights group. The lawyer representing them, talking about Ebonolu Adegborua, has asked youths to immediately suspend the protest. In his words, he said, I appeal to the protesters to withdraw themselves from the various protest grounds and suspend the protest immediately and indefinitely in order to give room for meaningful dialogues and engagement with the government. Well, in a counter-reaction, Omoyele Sowore, the convener of Revolution Now, actually insists that the protest must continue. In a very lengthy post, I'll just read part of it. He said, we want to notify the public that in addition to street marches, those at home should engage in pot and pan protest against hunger, poverty, and starvation. Just to pick a bit of it. And it, goes on and on. Now, I think I should come to you, Mr. Bestman. Unfortunately, we've seen, a side of the protest that seemed to be not so pleasant. But again, there's the issue of political thugs, allegations of political thugs, and sponsored anti-protesters who have been alleged to constitute strong nuisance and give a bad coloration to the process. I'd like your reaction to this.
It was obvious in some states, and it was expected, because largely, if you see those states where they have serious political issues, probably you have opposition to the governor or to the government. Those against them are prone to sponsor the other side, because I wouldn't I wouldn't want to use names that I could be liable. I have a lawyer here. So a state like Rivers, I mean, if anything happens there, I won't be surprised. A state like Kaduna, where we have the L5 factor and the Sunny Oba government, it's possible. A state like Kanu, so I'm not surprised that this is happening, but you see, except you just want to give a dog a bad name to hang it. Kudos largely, because the tension was high in Lagos. And then, to a large extent, the security forces, the government. I was at Ojota yesterday. In fact, I started from Underbridge just to monitor. And I was like, hey, I was somewhere watching. I could see the relationship between the Commissioner of Police and the protesters. Even at the time, I saw a group of people with dissenting voice. And I saw the way the police commissioner handled it. And I went to him and said, sir, this is good. And I had chats with the protesters and some who are against the protest. If we talk about fundamental human rights, somebody also have the right to say, I am in support of government. It's a right thing. But you see, I should not use my right to infringe on yours. And that's why I say, to a large extent, it is possible while we have straight-cut dichotomies in the politics of some states.
Well, now, talking about dichotomies here, my question to you, Festus, is this. Is there a legal angle to the duration of this protest? What do I mean? Right now, we are seeing the legal representative of the Take It Back movement, which had a meeting, extensive meeting with the IGP, and the IGP, actually, we had conversations with the police PRO on this program where he said that's the group they interfaced with and that the others are largely faceless, saying that, look, young people suspend the protest indefinitely to allow room for dialogue. And right now we are having a convener, a voice in all of this, talking about the person of Omoyele Sowore, saying, look, this protest must continue. I mean, some have even questioned the caption of his own definition of it, saying that days of rage. I mean, from a legal standpoint, what's going on here?
I feel that the whole issue started when the police requested that citizens have to come register or have to come notify them before they protest. Under Section 39, 40, and 41 of the Constitution, protest is a fundamental right. You do not need to notify the police before you can protest. You don't need the permission of the police before you can protest.
But how do you ensure the protection of the protesters if you don't inform security forces?
I mean, the law is very clear. If you are informing the police, you are only informing them out of courtesy. There is no legal consequence for your failure to notify the police if you want to embark on a protest, because it is your right. In fact, I can go on a lone protest on the street. The same way a motorist has a right to freedom of movement on the street, I also have a right as a citizen of this country to move on the street and exercise my right to protest. But that is not even all. The most important point is that, look, we've stated that we want to take this protest, we want to hold this protest for 10 days. We've had this protest for 2 uninterrupted days. I was actively involved. We were at the forefront of this protest, both yesterday and today. The president and commander-in-chief of armed forces has not spoken to us. The president of Nigeria is taking the young people of this country for granted, and we are not going to take that. So if we've protested for 2 days, we've made our demands abundantly clear, how do you expect us to disembark on this journey to total liberation when the president, who is the commander-in-chief of armed forces, who is the president of this country, has failed, refused, or neglected to speak to us? Look, we might say that the youths are overreacting, but that cannot be correct in light of the excruciating pain and agony the young people of this country are going through on a daily basis. I think that if at all we want the protest to stop, I believe that the president must speak to us We've tabled our demands. Our demands are very clear. We've tabled the demands, but the president is in hiding. He has not spoken to Nigerians. Lives have been lost. Up till now, the president has not spoken. The law is clear that the security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. Now, the people are even saying, look, we cannot see the welfare. The people are saying, look, we cannot see security. Now, they are on the street protesting that, look, we want a country that works for all. We do not want a country that works for the ruling elite alone. People have died. Precious lives have been lost. Citizens of the country have been killed by security agencies.
But look at
yet,
okay.
The president has not spoken. And you expect us to stop? I mean, we've been taken for granted for too long, and that's the truth.
Okay,
so we are not going to stop until the president takes
But looking at the fallout
action.
of the protest in some states, where it has turned violent and lives have been lost.
Yes.
Where does the law kick in here?
I'm telling you that we have to hold the president accountable, and I will tell you why. When you say lives have been lost, we have to be very clear. The protesters were killed by security agencies. Are you aware that for an asthmatic patient, by throwing throwing tear gas at protesters alone is capable of putting the life of citizens off? It can kill. It is capable of killing citizens. So if you have a situation where security agencies who ordinarily are meant to protect the citizens descend on them with reckless abandon to the point of, killing a good number of them.
How about cases of vandalism and looting?
We have to we have to be very clear that those that engage in vandalism are not protesters. Protesters have always been peaceful. The question we should ask ourselves as citizens of this country is this: why are pro-government protests not supposedly hijacked by these supposed hoodlums? Why are they not hijacked? Before August 1st, we've seen demonstrations by protesters that are in support of the government. In fact, they are saying they are protesting against the protest. But we've not seen any clear instance where the purported protests launched against this EndBadGovernance protest has been hijacked or disrupted. In fact, police were not even there to underscore the fact that you do not even need the permission or the permission of the police before you protest. When you see pro-government protests, you will not hear of looting, you will not hear of hijacking, you will not hear cases where security agencies are clamping down on them or killing innocent citizens. They are pampered, they are supported. In fact, the same Eagle Square that, His Excellency, the Honorable Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, said, look, you must obtain permission before you can use this place, giving. So, in fact, he was even saying that, look, before he would hand over or allow people to use the place for peaceful demonstration, they must pay so amount, they must take this permission and that permission. But barely 24 hours later, we saw pro-government protesters there. So that is to show you that the violence you see here and there are not perpetrated by protesters.
All right,
Our protesters have been peaceful, and the government are to blame.
Okay, what's your reaction to that?
Which other way is there to go about this?
Maybe dialogue.
Young people,
maybe dialogue, engagement, other available options.
You are talking of a government that does not respect rules. You are talking of a government who could go as far as carrying out political rule. You are talking of a
Sorry, you said political what?
Oro, called what do they call it?
Oro.
Incantations on Lagos, on the streets of Lagos, we saw them. A government who can go as far as that. A government who can go as far as, mobilizing thugs to stop a protest. A government who can go as far as I mean, you saw the women who said they were mobilized to Eagle Square, and they were given a placard saying no to protest, and they took their picture in the name of saying that they want to give them palliatives, and they took picture and they went away. A government who can go as far as that, a government who can go as far as organizing talks to attack protesters. You think that government is ready for dialogue? Yes, the media should stop pampering these people. They are not ready for dialogue. They only want to intimidate you, to force down whatever policies that they have introduced.
But won't you also want to say that maybe, I mean, won't you also want to say to some extent it's also maybe a listening government? Because we understand that there are quite a number of young persons in government and governance right now holding various positions. This is also a government that has, initiated, even though short-term policies and initiatives to help just manage the situation. We saw, quite a number of activities, the week to the build-up to the protest, trying to persuade Nigerians to be patient and not go out on the streets. Won't you also want to say that some of their actions so far has shown that they are listening?
It's funny when the question is so funny because
no, it's just a question. It's a plain question. I mean,
this is a government that is, he knows he has been part of protests, and so he is now anti-protests. So he's doing everything to kill the protests. All those measures you are talking about, it shows that the government is very insensitive. The Nigerian youth are saying, reverse the price of fuel. And you are going through your Ministry of Youth Development. What ministry? Go and check the Twitter handle of that ministry of youth. The last time they posted was December 2023. When people were calling for protest, you went there, you said you have organized about 110 billion that you should come and assess and all of that. I mean, what do you call that? You young people are saying that they don't want loans, education loans. What we want is grants. We want our unemployed to be paid unemployment benefits. We want total reversal of the electricity tariff. We want political office holders to be placed on minimum wage so that they feel the pain we are feeling. We want our political office holders to use the same hospitals that we are using. We want the House of Assembly members to attend to go to use public facilities just as we are using. We want refineries to work. We want the government to. Are you also aware that the Dangote refinery they claim, it's on record there? Because the government always lay claim that they don't have money to build refineries. They can't sustain the refineries. But it's on record that TeamNigeria4Change told us that over $2.7 billion was invested in Dangote refinery to acquire 20% equity. And Dangote came out the other day and told us that if that 20% has reduced to 7%. Now tell me, $2.7 billion can't build a refinery in Nigeria? So you see that this government is taking us for a ride. They are taking us for a ride. And that is why it's going around sharing money to people, making sure that people don't come out, sponsoring attacks on protesters. He's not ready to listen. This is a government that is a reckless government.
Francis.
He's not ready to listen to people.
Francis.
And we must continue the protest until this government is ready to listen to us.
Okay.
He must take us serious.
Francis, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we need to go on a quick break. When we return, of course, we'll pick up from where we stopped. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ on News Central Television. And of course, we are looking at Matters Horizon, day 2 of the EndBadGovernance protest in Nigeria. I still have with me my guest in the studio and one joining virtually. Gentlemen, thank you for hanging on. Yeah. Let me go to you, Bestman. I mean, there are quite a couple of demands from the protesters. One of those demands is that the price of petrol in particular, drops to what, or fuel drops to what it used to be. I mean, that basically is the lifeline. And there are a list of other demands, right? So, I mean, your reaction to these demands, how realistic, some of these demands are. I mean, quite a number of them is there on the screen.
Well, I start the demand by the barrister here, Festus, that Mr. President should speak as a father to the nation. Yeah, very possible. And I believe our president has a listening ear. And I think, I'm sure he's planning such, because the Tinubu that I know is aware, knows the importance of such things. But when you now come to, say, petrol price, there should be a drastic reduction in petrol price. Yeah, possible. But that it should go back to the price that it used to be is not possible.
Why?
It's absolutely impossible. Even in the world market, in the world oil market, it's not possible. The world oil market dictates the prices. Even in the UK, the price of fuel has increased. In the US, the same thing.
But Nigeria produces the crude.
It's that, but Nigeria's crude is sold in the international market. So, yes, it can come down. Thank God Dangote Refinery, like Francis said, Dangote Refinery is coming on board very soon. The one from Boa is coming on board. We learned Kaduna and Port Harcourt will come on. Things might come down a bit. But you see, I feel it is better for the Nigerian youth and the Nigerian worker to be empowered more. Let's create opportunities for them to stand.
And is the government doing that? Is it creating opportunity?
You see, a wrath of 40 years cannot be corrected in 1 year. What Nigeria was supposed to have done 40 years ago is what Nigeria started doing, let's say, just about 10 years ago. It's been gradual. So when we look at this and we say to ourselves, the members of the National Assembly should take minimum wage, they are impracticable things.
Why is that impractical?
It is very, there's no question to why is it impractical. You and I know reality that is not practicable.
I mean, that is why people say, that's why it's part of
we should be demanding that
okay.
there should be more industries in the land for the youth to get employment.
And not a drop in the cost of governance?
It is not about, years back, I said something and I said, let every government official be banned from going abroad for medicals. Let every government official be banned from having their children in school outside Nigeria. Let every government official be banned from having generator at home.
Is that practicable?
That is very practicable.
So why is it not practicable?
It is not practicable to say that the public should be on minimum wage.
Why is that?
Because where was he coming from? What is his CV? Before he got there, it was a
that's why it's called, I believe that's why it's called public service.
Public service is not part-time service. If our constitution says it's part-time, then we can look at all that. You can't tell a governor to earn minimum wage. Even at what we are saying, even you, if someone tells you to earn minimum wage now, at the level you have attained, it's not practicable. So when we say we had talks, like I said, there are some states where the polemics of politics could support that. But in Lagos and some other states, there was nothing like bringing thugs. If there were thugs, then you and I sat, most of the TV stations were running the protest live. We were watching. So where were the thugs? Let's not give a dog a bone to hang it. Yeah, things are not right. I said something, I said, this country, 40 years ago, okay, let me just take the Jackpot syndrome, for example. I said, in 1986, yeah, the federal government had to run a TV ad. Andrew, no checkout to when Nigerians were running away. Now, the question is, should things remain like that? No. But let's stop saying as if Tinubu government brought all this war on us. If I was Tinubu, I would just go selfish.
Okay.
And I'll say, return fuel subsidy. I will start defending the Naira by taking more loans. Okay. I will sell our oil for 20 years and I have so much money. Then after my tenure, the country will cease to be. But the man said, no. He wants to bear this brunt now. He wants to sacrifice his name for us to have a better tomorrow.
Okay, I feel like reacting to many of the things you said, but I'm sure time will not permit. Instead, let me bring in Francis to the conversation, and then the opinion of Festus on this one. Francis.
Yes, let me start by saying that those who benefit from the system will always support the system. It is good that we are having this conversation at this material time so that history will vindicate each and every one of us on the side we took. We are aware that Nigeria have the refineries to refine our crude here. And you media are also aware that in the last dispensation, the last government of Buhari, a house committee was set up to even investigate this subsidy. And all of these oil merchants came and they said it clear to the House committee that they had not received any money from NNPC. What a reasonable government should have done was to even ascertain, is there anything called subsidy? Who is collecting subsidy? I don't know if the media is aware. Can you please list the name of those collecting the subsidy? Because up till today, no one has shown us the list of those who are collecting the subsidy.
Exactly.
That is what a responsible government will do. Money is being cornered into the pocket of certain individuals. What this government would have done was to take that money that is being cornered, or the one that have been cornered already, recover it, build our refinery, build new refineries, and make the dormant one running. That's not to pass the burden or the punishment on the Nigerian people to pay more. All of us know what is going on. From 1980, from the days of Shagari till now, there have been several programs being introduced. During the time of Babangida, we have had social adjustment program. We have had, what they call it, the Buhari regime. We have had several policies, all of these policies. And we know where it's coming from. These are IMF, World Bank, policies. Which country floats is Naira, is currency? Even the US, the almighty US, the headquarters of capitalism, cannot float its own currency. So we know that all of these policies, IMF in those policies, a government, what kind of government allows discriminatory classification of electricity users? The same government that condemned the sales,
that's what I pay in the UK,
the sales of the power sector under Jonathan. The same government has come to classify electricity users to, discriminatory classification of electricity users. Where I reside, I pay 2,000 naira every day to recharge. That means if I don't have 2,000 naira, you can't be talking to me right now. Every day. And that is 60,000 naira a month. What is my work as a young person? What job am I doing? And so it's very insensitive when we make certain comments as if we are not even sensitive to the plight of others. I'm very well aware that your TV station was at the protest. Please, let them get the video of the talks. Let them get the video of the talks and play it on this show, on this program, so that we will see. It was there, we were making live. I made it clear to the Commissioner of Police right there. And I said, if anything happens to anyone, those thugs were there with us. They came, they were showing us guns. They were there. All the media were seeing them. I called the Assistant Commissioner of Police. I told him, I said, look at these people, they are here to attack us. He said, they should leave them. That when they attack us, then he will go after them. This is what he told me.
You said you spoke with, I'm sorry, I would like to get that clearly. Francis, you said when you spoke with the Commissioner of Police, what did he tell you concerning the thugs that you said you saw?
No, I'm talking of the assistant. The Commissioner of Police had not arrived as at there when those thugs. But as at when the Commissioner of Police arrived, those thugs were around. And so the negotiation we had with them was that if the thugs are going to continue to be around us, because we know there's going to be a clash at that particular time, we are going to hold a procession around Lagos. And so immediately the Commissioner of Police understood that the procession might even lead to more people joining us. And so he agreed for us to block the service lane. And that was where we had our protest. And so it is insensitive for someone to say there were no talks. You were not there. It's insensitive.
All right. Let me leave you for a moment, Francis. So that, okay.
I was there.
Okay. I think, of course, Bestman wants to react.
No,
Bestman,
I think those are part of the things I frown against. You can't make an emphatic statement. I was there all through, from under bridge till we went to the Ojota. I was there.
I'm talking about today. You were not there today.
Oh.
You were not there today.
Were you there today?
Okay, I was in Lekki for the better part of
okay,
it.
so he's talking about today.
I thought you said yesterday. I was there all through yesterday.
Anyway, I understand that at this point we need to go on a break. Of course, when we return, we'll pick up. Stay with us. Hey, thanks for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ on New Central Television. And of course, we are looking at day 2 of the EndBadGovernance protest across Nigeria. I still have my guest with me. Now, Festus, because we're pressed for time, quickly, you've had all that has been said, and we've seen what has transpired in the past 2 days. This protest, should run for 10 days. That's the demand, the duration. What are the gaps, and what do you think can be done to secure lives and property? And I also understand that personally, you and I think a team are involved in, what I call it, legal rescue right now of people that might be victims, doing this protest, maybe as a result of unlawful arrest and all of that. I would also like you to speak on that briefly.
Yes, so as trial lawyers, we have a coalition of lawyers, young lawyers, that are providing legal support for the protesters. And we are across the country. We are in all states of the country, of the Federation. Here in Lagos, yesterday we secured the release of 3 protesters that were wrongfully arrested after the protest. They were detained at Alausa police station. We were able to secure their release.
Where were they arrested? They
were arrested at Oregon on their way home after the protest. But we were able to get them released with the intervention of the Lagos State Police Command. Today we secured release of about 12 protesters who were wrongly arrested by the authorities. And indeed, we secured our team secured their release at Panti earlier today. See, what I think should be done at this rate is not to continue the threats at the protesters. That will not solve the problem. Because there is a reason the protester went on the streets in the first place. I think what should be done right now is for the president to speak to us.
Okay.
Look, it is not enough to guilt-trip the protesters. We are not the cause of the problem. If ours was a country that works for all, we will not be on the streets. I have spent the last 10 years of my life, fighting for a better country, while I should have focused on, more better industry. But the point we are making is that the president at this time must speak to the issues that the protesters have highlighted. All right,
so the president needs to address the nation. Now, Francis, 30 seconds, your final thoughts on the program.
All right, I will want to also add that yesterday, they claimed there was no violence. Yesterday, a protester that was going home after we had left was attacked by the police. His head was broken. He was at the
Francis, are you there?
Here tomorrow. You can come over and interview him again. When I raised it with the assistant commissioner of police today, he told me that the commissioner, when he heard it, that he was angry. But the question I put to him, if the commissioner was angry,
okay,
the men that carried out that attack, have they been arrested?
All right, Francis.
He couldn't answer.
All right, Francis, sorry. Bestman, 30 seconds.
Well, in all this, I also think there's a Yoruba proverb in Ile-Ife that says, Agbagbon, Omodegbon, Lafida Ile-Ife, which means you combine the wisdom of both the old and the young to make a good society. Kind of, if a seasoned lawyer, SAN like Adeburua, who's always backed the protesters, in his wisdom says now, let's recoil to strategize, give room for dialogue, let's mediate, let's talk. And suddenly they say he's not worth listening to.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt here. No one has said it's not worth listening to.
No, not you.
No. We are saying that none of the young persons have said no. None of the young persons have said it's not worth listening to. What we young people are saying is that those that destroyed our future, because they've already destroyed our future, are incapable. They are incapable of dictating to us how the future of our children will look like. What we are saying is that, look, the Learned Silk Ebolu Adegboruwa spoke for the Take It Back movement. But Take It Back movement is not the only organization that is organizing the protest.
I'm sorry, but we need to go. Thank you so much. We sincerely, of course, appreciate your presence on the program. Talking about my guest, Fetus Ogun is a legal practitioner at Bestman Jumbo-Eze. Thank you for that. He's the president of TeamNigeria4Change, and also Francis Nwapa is the National Secretary of Youth Rights Campaign. Well, in case you missed today's episodes, you can always catch up on our YouTube platform. That's News Central TV. News Central will be bringing you up to speed as regards happening on the EndBadGovernance protest. Stay with us. My name is Dakpo Adegboye. Good night.